Imagine a boy who can't die, no matter how brutal the injury. Drop a steel beam on him, slice his arm completely off, it doesn't matter. He instantly grows it right back and keeps walking like nothing happened. So, what kind of monster is he really? It all starts by introducing us to a girl named Kitoko Igualada, but we will just call her Koto. Koto is sitting outside on a hospital bench, and then she goes over to talk to a boy named Kuro, who is our main protagonist. She greets him, but the boy is confused since he doesn't know who she is. She then goes on to say, "How can't you remember the girl who saved your own life?" But he replies saying he can't remember ever being in danger that bad for someone to need to save his life. However, Mikado tells him that 2 years ago at this hospital, he was walking through the corridors and some children passed by and accidentally pushed him. But before he fell down, Mikado was there to save him and grabbed him before he fell. Pyro and his girlfriend Saki thanked her that day, and he promised that he will always remember her. And at that moment, it was love at first sight for Kato. Kato was so intrigued at the sight of Kirao, and she even refers to him as a goat-like figure with 2 demon horns. But to everyone else, he looks like a normal boy. We now go back to the present, and Kirao tells her he now remembers her and then apologizes, and tells her he is not good at remembering girls' faces, especially as she is wearing a new hat. She then sits down beside him and reintroduces herself to make sure he will never forget her ever again. Toto then proposes that they should start dating because she knew his relationship with his ex-girlfriend Saki had ended and he was single, but she wants him to tell her the reason why they broke up. And that's when he tells her that one night, while they were both walking past a river, a monster appeared, so he ran away, leaving only his girlfriend, and this is the reason they broke up. But Kato tells him this is a lie, and what really happened was the monster was actually the one who was afraid of Cairo, and his girlfriend was also now scared of him because she saw how frightened the monster was of Zero, and it made her question who he really was. Kato then goes on to explain that all the monsters know his true identity and find him terrifying from everyone else. So then Cairo asks Kato who she really was. Then she tells him she is the goddess of wisdom for all mythical creatures, monsters, and spirits known as yokai. But Cairo doesn't believe her. So she convinces him by telling him to find the newspapers from 6 years ago, which tells the story of a girl who went missing but was later found without an eye and a leg. Kato then leaves and gets on the bus to go home. And this is when she is visited by one of the spirit creatures who asks her for help and explains that there is a demon monster lurking in the library. But she tells him that she will take care of it tomorrow because she is following Zero. The next day, we see that Kiro found the newspaper about Kato and learns about what happened. Kato asks him if his investigation is enough proof for him to believe her. But he says that this still doesn't prove she is a goddess of wisdom. And just at that moment, a human transforms into a fox right in front of him and tells Kato that the library has been broken into by the monster and asks her for help. The fox takes one look at Kirao and is frightened out of his mind just by simply looking at him. After seeing the fox transform, he tells her that he now believes her story. And then they both head over to the library. When they arrive at the library, she tries talking with the monster, but it ignores her command and tries to attack her. Since Cairo can't control it either, they then try to escape, but after running for a while, he turns around and stands in front of the monster and ate his whole arm. Kato gets scared, but we see that Cairo is immortal and has body regeneration, and the monster dies after eating Cairo's flesh. Kato is shocked by this and starts asking Cairo to reveal who he really is. And then Cairo says, "You can just ask your mythical creatures who I am." He also tells her that when he was younger, he ate 2 kinds of demon meat, which gave him immortal powers. The next day, Cairo goes to visit his cousin at the hospital, and there he sees Kato. They talk about what happened in the library yesterday, and she asked him about his arm. He tells her that he is fine and says when he was younger, one of the meats he ate was from a mermaid. And that's why he has full body regeneration. But Kato says that by eating mermaid meat, you also inherit eternal youth. However, he doesn't look like a boy anymore. And he says that it could be because of the other meat he ate that is affecting the eternal youth power. She asks him what the other meat was, but he doesn't give her an answer. Right after, Tata then invites Kirao to come and visit one of the mythical creatures, which is a giant serpent, because she heard that it has some questions that only she could help him with. But Kirao rejects going with her and tells her that he has better things to do, so she goes alone to talk with the giant serpent. The snake tells her that all the humans are forgetting about him as he hasn't received any prayers from humans in many years, and that humans no longer look up to him as a god of water. After that, he notices that Kato is upset, so the snake asks her what's wrong. And Kato replies that she was upset because her boyfriend Kirao didn't accompany her. She apologizes and asks the snake why he wanted her help. And this is when it tells her that a few days ago, a woman threw a corpse into the lake. The woman in question is called Tano. And the corpse was identified as a man called Yashara Hiru, who was Tano's ex-boyfriend's boss. Tano was later arrested and testified to the police that she threw the corpse into the lake because she heard about the snake that likes to eat humans, and she gave it as an offering. Oh, but that was actually a lie because the snake watched her throw it into the lake, and when she threw it in, she whispered, saying, "I really hope someone finds you." He also noticed that she never attached anything heavy to the body to weigh it down, so she definitely wanted it to be found. And that's why he is asking Kato for help, as he wants an explanation from the goddess of wisdom. She tries helping the snake by giving him several explanations as to why this occurred, but each reason she gives the snake leads to an empty plot. So she gives him one more reason as to why she did this, and she explains to the snake that it all started with her ex-boyfriend Machai, who died in the arms of another woman. And this woman was his co-worker. After Machai died, it was told that while he was working for Hiru, he played around with some numbers and embezzled a large sum of money to his account. He knew the boss would find out and he had nowhere to hide the money, and him and his coworker were the only two people who knew about it, so they both agreed to die together in the bathtub. At the time this happened, Tannel was carrying his baby, and she thought she was carrying the baby of the man who just betrayed her. Later on, she ended up having a miscarriage. So she dumped the unborn baby in the river out of spite. Tannel moved on with her life and got out of the city, and now lives alone in the suburbs. Years go by, and Hiru visits her house and confesses to her that he was actually the one who embezzled the money and that Machai and his coworker were the only two people who knew about it and threatened to make it public. So he killed them both. After hearing his confession, she got her revenge on the boss and then dumped his body in the river, hoping that the police would search the entire river in the hopes that they would find her unborn baby she had with Machai. That's why she whispered, saying she really hopes someone finds it. After explaining to the snake what happened, she sees Cairo, who was hiding this whole time and listening and on the conversation. Cairo that everything she just told the snake was a lie because she sent one of her spirits to check on Tano at the time she was being detained, and the spirit heard her say the truth. And the real reason she did it was to see the snake eat the corpse. 2 years later, we see that Kiro's ex-girlfriend Saki is now a police officer. Saki and her partner discuss a recent case about a guy who crashed into the river while he was driving. Right after the incident, the guy told Saki he was distracted by a beautiful ghost. He describes her as a faceless lady with 2 big eyes, but in the police report she wrote down that it was a puppy in the road, which caused him to crash into the river. Her partner argues with her and says it's best to use the right description, but Saki told him they shouldn't mention the word ghost in their reports as it will only cause problems. Saki told her partner that this was the work of a ghost called the Steel Lady. To which he replies is saying he has heard many similar cases of the Steel Lady, but still can't bring himself to believe that ghosts are actually real. Before her partner leaves, she tells him that these spirits in yokai do exist in their world and that her own ex-boyfriend Cairo was also like these monsters but in a human form, and that's why she broke up with him. She then starts to investigate where the incident took place, and there she meets Kato, who happens to fall on top of her. Kato was facing off with the Steel Lady, and this is when Saki has had enough of hearing from the Steel Lady and wanted to defeat her right now. So she runs up to her and tries to fight the lady, but her arm went straight through her body. The Steel Lady then threw a metal beam at her and knocked her down. Kato helps her and makes contact with the Steel Lady, and shortly after, the ghost ran away. Saki asks Kato why she was able to hit the ghost, but she wasn't, and then she goes on to explain that she is not like other humans. Kato explains to Saki that she needs to forget about everything that just happened and not to get the police involved, as it will cause many problems. Then Saki pulls out her bag and tells her she is an officer, then offers to bring her back to the station for further questions and offers to treat her wounds she got from the fight. But after seeing her badge, she read the name and realized who it was, and was shocked that she just met Kiro's ex-girlfriend. She begins to express that if she knew who she was from the start, she wouldn't have saved her from the Steel Lady. Then Saki gets angry with her for being rude. They head over to Saki's apartment, and Kato tells her that her and Kirao are now dating and are happily in love. She shows Saki photos of them together, but after seeing the photos, she tells her that they shouldn't be together as he looks miserable and unhappy in all the photos. Kato disagrees, but Saki says she would know since she was the one who dated him for over 4 years. Saki asks Kato why Kirao wasn't there when she was facing off with the Steel Lady, and Kato replies saying he disappeared around a week ago. And the last thing he did was text her saying to not go looking for him. Kato leaves and uses a spirit in the form of a giant skeleton for transportation. Saki then starts to investigate more about the Steel Lady and who she was before she died. She found out the girl's real name is actually Karen Nannies. She was 18 at the time and wasn't doing too well in life until one day she got an important role as a leading actress and became a famous idol and was worried by many people that followed her. She continues searching and finds a website that talks about the idol. It is a fan wiki page, and there it tells her everything she needs to know about Nanai. She clicks on the wiki, and it explains the death of her father. Apparently, her father died from an accident by falling down the stairs. But then there were rumors that Nanai was the one who killed her father since he hated her for becoming famous and embarrassing his family. Because of this rumor, Nanai had to temporarily withdraw from acting. A few days later, Nani's died of steel beams falling on top of her at a construction site. Kato is also now searching for a way to defeat the Steel Lady because all of her spirits and little creatures are too afraid of her. And since she is their goddess, she feels like she has to be the one to stop her. Later, Kato visits a restaurant and is greeted by a spirit that tells her the Steel Lady had appeared. She arrives at the location and saw her fighting someone, and it was Kiro. To proceed with this plan, Kato needs more information and asks Saki for her investigation files. The files have all the necessary information about Karen Nan. They go to the place of the incident, and with the help of a ghost, they verify that she was indeed crushed by the metal beams. However, she never actually moved out of the way, almost like she wanted to be crushed. They talk to the ghost, and they all agree that they should come up with a fake narrative to replace the old one and finally get rid of the Steel Lady. To confirm the story will be a success. They can use Kiro's power to see into alternate futures, and he can see the future of where the Lady Nanai will no longer exist. That night, we also see that Saki's partner was a victim of the Steel Lady. With the news of this spreading, Kato's chances of defeating the Steel Lady decrease, so she starts thinking fast to come up with a story to defeat the Steel Lady once and for all. After a few hours, she has 4 solutions to be able to get rid of the Steel Lady, but this leaves her very tired and she wants to sleep. So Saki and Kairo head out to get some food. She asks Kirao why he is dating Kato since she is not his type. And she also tells him that she knows the truth that he is in love with his cousin Ra, who has been in the hospital for over 3 years, and this is who Kirao regularly visits. At first, they didn't get along, but over time, they became friends. While she was staying there, she noticed that Ra was always on the computer and also liked to create art, but one day, she suddenly left. She never realized up until now that she was the one who created the page of the Steel Lady, as she has the same painting style as the image shown on the wiki. But Kato could never imagine that she was the one behind this. She then realized that Kirao already knew about Ra being the creator of the Steel Lady, and that's why he was gone for over a week because he went out to go find her, and that's why he told Kato not to go looking for him. This is why it's been so hard to defeat the Steel Lady, because Ra has been using her power to see the future, and she always finds the one where people believe in the Steel Lady the most. But each time she uses the power, she dies and comes back to life, making her body as she has done this hundreds of times to keep the ghost alive. Gaia's spirit visits Kato and told her she found the Steel Lady, and Kato says this will be the final night to defeat her. They will need Kirao to fight the Steel Lady, while Saki and Kato write fake stories on the wiki page to try and convince the masses to stop believing in her, so she gets weaker and finally disappears. Ra is seen using her power where she chooses a future where the Steel Lady will still exist, and Cairo is trying to do the opposite. Kato tries to convince people on the site that the ghost isn't real and that it's an actual person dressing up as the Steel Lady in order to get away with committing crime, because they know that the police investigations will never lead toward the real culprit. However, she fails to convince the people on her theories, and they always contradict her arguments. She tries telling them many other reasons as to why she doesn't exist, but fails. So this leads to her fourth and final story, where she tells the wiki that Karen Nan is actually still alive, and she wanted to find a way to get out of the spotlight due to all of the rumors about her killing her father, which led to her being abandoned by the rest of her family and her sister, and she wanted a fresh start. She does this by finding a look-alike of herself, Intrin, and when she met her, they started talking and became friends. One day, she asked her for a favor, which was to become a decoy and help her direct the paparazzi away from the location. She agrees to help Nan and begins to dye her hair and wear Nan's clothes. She tells her to run into the construction site and she will meet her there later. She then hit her unconscious and right after crushed her face with the steel beam so she couldn't be fully identified. This way, Nan could pretend to be her instead and live a normal life. But some of the users start asking what was the point of Steel Lady Nan if the real Nanae was actually alive. And then other users point out that the real Nanae might be the one who created her and made the wiki herself in order to make the world believe she was really dead. Thanks to this, everyone started to believe that Nanae was actually still alive, and she created the website herself in order to hide the fact that she was alive. And this is when Zero finally defeats the ghost, and she disappears from existence. Their final step is to find Kiro's cousin and defeat her, but I guess that will happen in Season 2 of Inspector. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, guys, take care.